Golden dust and the final sob. In a land perhaps forgotten by God, where the sun is not a giver of life, but a cruel judge, a valley stretches out like a long scar on the face of the earth. It is a kingdom of deafening silence, palpable heat, and a vast emptiness that can swallow a human soul whole. The ancient Native Americans whispered its name as Tomocha, or ground afire. But to the outside world, it remained merely an unnamed patch of land on a crude map. Until 1849, the year the golden fever swept across America. Rumors of gleaming gold veins in California ignited a fire of greed and hope in the hearts of people from all walks of life. They left their homes, their families, and their old lives behind to chase a dream of changing their destiny with their own two hands and a shovel. Among them was a group of stout men who had become friends along the way. They proudly called themselves the Company of Hope, but history would remember them as the Lost 49ers. Their leader was Jacob, an old man whose face was etched with the lines of countless sun-drenched and rain-soaked journeys. His grizzled beard held untold stories of travel. He knew the desert well, but the youth and enthusiasm of his companions led him to make the biggest mistake of his life. "Look at this, Jacob!" William, a young man with eyes sparkling like a boy about to receive a great gift, pointed to a small path branching off the main trail on a well-worn map. "It's a shortcut! We'll get to the Sierra Nevada mountains before anyone else. We won't have to compete with the thousands of people heading that way." Beside him, Elias, a burly and quiet man who dreamed of building his own farm, nodded in agreement. "A shorter path means gold sooner." Jacob stroked his beard in thought. His instincts screamed a warning of danger. But when he looked into the hopeful eyes of the men around him, he nodded slowly. "All right, we'll go this way, but everyone must promise to conserve water as much as possible." The first day on the shortcut was filled with laughter and song. They sang about mountains of gold and the comfortable lives that awaited them. The morning sun cast a brilliant golden light on the sand dunes as if to bless their journey with success. But they did not know that it was not a blessing, but a warning of the fiery hell to come. When the second day arrived, the valley began to reveal its true nature. The air, which had been merely hot, now became scorching. It wasn't just heat from the sun, but a heat that radiated up from the ground. Every stone became a furnace. The wind that blew was not a cool breeze, but the breath of a gigantic foundry, wicking every drop of moisture from their bodies. The water in their canteens began to have a strange, metallic taste. The laughter disappeared, replaced by the heavy sound of panting breaths. A terrible silence began to take over, a silence so frighteningly deep that they could hear the blood pumping in their own temples. Samuel, a religious man who prayed every night, started seeing things. He raised a hand and pointed into the emptiness ahead. "Look, a river! I see a river!" He screamed before running madly forward and collapsing on the scorching sand. What he saw was only the air, warped by the intense heat. Despair began to gnaw at their hearts, little by little. "We have to abandon some things." Elias was the first to speak after they helped carry the unconscious Samuel back. "This luggage, it's too heavy." He began to unburden the leather bags full of mining tools and personal items from his pack mule. "The gold is too heavy. The dream is too heavy," he whispered to himself, as if delirious, before walking on alone. "Elias, come back!" William shouted after him, but his voice was so hoarse it was barely audible. Elias did not look back. He kept walking until his body fell and lay still among the endless dunes. His body was quickly consumed by the earth, as if the valley had opened its mouth to receive its first sacrifice. That night, the cold of the desert was just as brutal as the heat of the day. They built a small fire from the dried bushes they had painstakingly gathered. The flames danced, reflecting on their gaunt faces and hollow eyes. William awoke with a start in the middle of the night. He heard a sound, a whisper as faint as the wind, but so chillingly clear. "The lost, you have wandered into the land of death." He sprang up, looking around but finding nothing but darkness in his companions curled up near the fire. He thought he must have imagined it, but then the sound came again. This time it wasn't just one voice, but an overlapping wails of many people. "Thirsty, freezing, your gold is here beneath the sand, next to our bones." He shivered with fear. He felt as though countless eyes were watching them from the darkness, the eyes of every spirit that had sacrificed its life to this valley. Jacob opened his eyes and looked at him, the old man's gaze filled with sadness and understanding. "It's the cry of the valley," he said in a faint voice. "It's calling for us." They finally realized that this place was not just a dry wasteland. It was alive. It was a beautiful and grand trap. It lured people with the promise of a shortcut to riches, but in the end, it would consume everything, their hope, their dreams, and even their lives. Day after day, they walked aimlessly. The number of travelers dwindled one by one, one by one. Some fell and never rose again. Others went mad and ran off into the shimmering heat haze, until finally only Jacob and William were alive. They stumbled forward on pure instinct alone, their bodies and minds shattered beyond all feeling. As if by a miracle or a cruel twist of fate, they were found by another group of explorers traveling nearby. They were saved, given water and food, but to William it felt like a distant, hazy dream. When his strength had somewhat returned, he staggered to a small hill to look back at the place he had just left. The sight made him freeze. The valley that had been hell on earth for him now, under the setting sun, looked strangely beautiful. The sand dunes were brilliant gold, the sky a purplish orange. It looked peaceful and magnificent, like a painting by a master. The tears that had not fallen for days now overflowed from his eyes. It was not a tear of joy for surviving, but a tear of sorrow. Sorrow for his lost friends, for the dreams shattered to dust, and for his own innocence buried beneath that sand. He raised a hand to wipe away his tears, standing still for a long time, as if to memorize the image forever, before turning his back on it for the last time and speaking farewell from the depths of his broken soul. "Goodbye, Death Valley." That utterance was not just a farewell, but a naming. It was the inscription of a legend with tears and blood. It was a curse bestowed upon the land that had taken everything from him. From that day forward, the name Death Valley was spoken far and wide, and the story of the lost 49ers became a legend passed down through generations. It is a reminder of the terror hidden beneath nature's beauty, and a whisper that still echoes in the hot wind waiting for the next foolish traveler to wander into its kingdom of golden dust and the final sob.